Nigeria, electricity generation comes through thermal and hydropower sources, with 86% from fossil fuels and the rest from hydropower sources. Over the years, power supply has remained a major source of concern as to what is needed to meet the basic household and industrial needs of the country. Now, while some consumers may decry that sometimes poor nature of electricity supply in some parts of the country, suppliers, however, say some consumers are in the habit of owing huge tariffs and in some cases cut corners just to avoid payment of these tariffs. There are 11 electricity distribution companies, DISCOs, operating in Nigeria, and every electricity consumer must belong to a specific tariff. Now, the new tariffs suggest that customers in some areas who used to pay about 19.31 naira and 27.11 naira per kilowatt since 2015 will now be paying 34.28 naira and 48.12 naira per kilowatt, while in other instances, some residential homes which have been paying 13.34 naira and 26.5 naira per kilowatt since 2015 will now be paying 21.30 naira and 21.80 naira per kilowatt. Why the disparity in these charges, and why does it seem as if the electricity providers prefer to impose estimated billing on some consumers? These questions and more will be our focus of discussions on the topic electricity tariffs in Nigeria. Welcome to Nigeria Today. I'm Dennis at Digimbo. And in the studio to discuss electricity tariffs in Nigeria is engineer Chinedu Onyegula, former special assistant to the Minister of Power. You're very welcome to Nigeria Today.
Thank you so much.
And also joining us is Mr. Jide Ojo, a public affairs analyst. Thanks once again for being on Nigeria Today, sir.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me. Good evening, Nigerians.
All right, Mr. Chinedu, let me come to you first. There are rumors that an impending increase of electricity tariffs are on the horizon. Should Nigerians be worried? How true are these rumors?
Well, thank you so much for having me on the program. Should Nigerians be worried? I don't think Nigerians need to be worried. The tariff is a measure of power that is consumed by a consumer, and investors are putting money to develop power plants that send power to the consumers, and that power is costed, and that is what we pay as a tariff. And for the longest time, we haven't had tariff adjustment. We've had what we call minor tariff adjustments. So this proposed tariff increase is a needed one, because we need to ensure that the investors that have put in the money actually get the money back, so that we have we no longer have a shortfall. As we have now, as we see it now, we have over ₦1 trillion shortfall from tariff shortfall, and we need to increase the tariff to make sure that we adjust that or fix that.
All right, Jide, let's get your initial thoughts on these proposals, these tariff hikes.
Thanks for the opportunity to speak to Nigerians on this. I think Nigeria should be worried. Really speaking, we should be worried that we are paying more for darkness. We should be worried that at a point in time that service delivery, we have Servicom. What is the whole lesson of Servicom? It's about service delivery, value for money. You want me to pay? Yes, I'm willing to pay. But am I getting value for the money that you are charging me? Here we are. I've done a number of opinion articles on issues around power sector. The expectation was high when privatization of PACN came to be about a decade ago. Everybody was excited because we thought we have parted way with darkness and blackouts. But lo and behold, this multi-year tariff order, at some point they said government was subsidizing for us. And we said, good, we enjoy it. But there were commitments made by GENCOs, that's generating companies, transmission company of Nigeria, and distribution companies. Those commitments have not been met. The technical capacity of many of these operators is in doubt. Because by now we should have seen significant improvement in not only power generation and distribution, but also because Dennis, we need to understand the life of every country centers around the availability of power, industrialization, social comfort. It's all about power. Now, Nigerian economy is still running on generator. When I was doing a research on this, I learned 1896 or thereabout was when we first had electricity. That was the last century. Now, over a century, we are grappling with less than 10,000 megawatts of electricity. Funding that was pledged hasn't come in. Yeah, I know, we can share the blame. I mean, it will go around. The bottom line is this. Are the consumer getting value for whatever is charged? If you look at, yes, they are saying that the last time they adjusted the tariff was 2015. Between 2015 and now, one would have expected a significant, because when they did it in 2015 with effect from January 1, 2016, we were hopeful that with that new adjustment, there will be significant improvement. Now, let me cite just one challenge that these schools are yet to overcome, and that is the metering. And without metering, still depending on estimated billing, Nigerians should be worried. If you are saying there is over ₦1 trillion indebtedness with 2015 tariff, what do you think will happen with this adjustment that you have reeled out? Will people be willing and ready and be happy to part with their other money over estimated billings which they know? I am a consumer. I have a residence in Ibadan that up to today, despite paying for meter, we have not received. That's more than 2-3 years ago. Yeah. So what happens? They bring this and say, oh, this is a 3-bedroom apartment. You must be consuming 5,000 of electricity. When in a whole year, in my neighborhood, in a whole year, there was not even a blinker of electricity.
All right, let me bring Chinode in on this issue of estimated billing. I'm sure you have something to say on this.
Well, yes, estimated billing is a problem, but I wanted to first touch on the issue, before I get to estimated billing, I wanted to touch on the issue of the meters that you talked about. 2013, sorry, when we privatized, we had performance agreement where the discos had an agreement based on their growth plans on how they were going to meter their consumers. Back then, we had about 4 million customers shortfall. We've grown from that since then. The tariff had not been adjusted then. And since then, we've had several issues. We've had currency fluctuation. At the time when the tariff was adjusted, foreign currency was about 150 naira to $1. Right now, it came up to 500 to a point, and now it's adjusted to about 360 naira to $1. Now, it means that the cost that this distribution, I'm making no excuses for them, but it means that the cost that these discos have to incur has increased because they took loans in foreign currency and they have to pay back this money in foreign currency. The amount they have to pay back has increased, doubled in several instances. So they have to adjust for that. Now, it's a catch-22. Question which comes first, the egg or the chicken? Do we increase tariff and watch and see what happens, or do we ensure that the power sector grows to a certain point and then increase tariff? We've been waiting for these DISCOs and the GENCOs to improve their performance, but they cannot because they are their hands are held tight by the current circumstance and situation that they're facing. Coupled with that, we have huge aggregate technical, commercial, and collection losses, which are perpetuated mostly by consumers that have refused to pay their outstanding bills, that have refused to do what is right by.
That's because they're feeling they're not getting the value for money, as Jide
yeah, but then it doesn't justify you going around the corner to steal power, right? Because at the end of the day, you are sabotaging an infrastructure that somebody has put money and is expecting to get their money back in return. Now, to get to your question about estimated billing. Estimated billing is approved by NEC. Okay. And NEC requires a certain process or structure to implement estimated billing. There are several processes and procedures to counteract or to challenge your estimated billing, which consumers can go through that process to rectify that. It's a tedious process, but the NEC is responsible for notifying the consumers of what those processes are, and the discos are available to you to inform you what the processes are to ensure that what you're paying for estimated billing comes close to what has been approved is the structure for that.
Can I say something? I appreciate the explanation given by Chinedu, and I'm very much aware of them. I'm aware of the energy theft, I'm aware of the technical challenges, but this, for me, we are just rigmaroling. The issue is this, and I asked a question, a very germane question to me. Why is the disco serving as intermediary between meter manufacturers and the consumer? I should have expected, okay, you are cash crunch, you are not getting cash flow. There are, to the best of my knowledge, and because I've been involved in debate where meter manufacturers have come out to say, look, we have meters in our storehouses that are not sold, and it's killing our business. And I wonder, if I pay to a disco about the electricity distribution of Abuja Electricity, and it takes me years, please, go to the website of NEC. NEC said, cap me, I've forgotten the full meaning of cap me, that people paid for meters for years, and these meters were never delivered. Now they have moved to MAP. Now, who is incurring loss in that respect? If a consumer parted with is like 40,000, 80,000 to buy a meter, and you fail to deliver on those meters, and you continue to bring me estimated billing, for God's sake, I will not pay. I will not pay because I believe your charges are exploitative. And that's the truth. I feel, Dennis, I feel very strongly. Since it's not the disco that are manufacturing the meters, the meter manufacturers are there. They are just like what I would liken to mobile phone manufacturers. They supply their outlets. And I, that wanted to use mobile phone, will go and purchase. When I purchase, I activate through the telecoms operators. Now, can similar things happen with this issue of meter? Can I go to a meter manufacturer or its outlet and purchase my meter, and they bring an installer, just like if I want to install a dish. They bring their installer, help me to install, then I go to a disco to activate, and then vending. Now we can do vending online. This should not be a rocket science in my own estimation, because this issue of metering gap, we've been hearing about it for more than 5 years. And at some point, former President Goodluck Jonathan actually did promise to supply, the federal government will be paying for 1 million meters. We never knew what happened with those 1 million meters up to tomorrow.
We'll come back after the break. The program is in Nigeria today. We're talking about electricity billing. We'll take a break now, and we'll be back shortly. All right, welcome to back. The program is Nigeria Today. Our guests are still with us. Engineer Chinedu Onyegbula, former special assistant to the Minister of Power, and Jide Ojo, a public affairs analyst. Engineer Chinedu, Jide raised a point before we went on break about maybe cutting out the discos from the equation when it comes to the purchase of meters. What would you say in response to that?
Well, I agree that there has been some mismanagement of the whole process, but there's been remediation to try and correct some of those problems or issues. And the perfect onboarder that does that is the Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission.
Okay, NERC.
NERC. And they've come up, which Jide pointed out, with this MAP regulation, which allows consumers, discos, to use specially approved, they've gone through the procurement process and they've been vetted as being competent to produce meters, as meter asset providers. Once they've gone through that process, NEC has vetted them, they can now provide meters to consumers or to discos and onwards to consumers. Under this program now, the consumers can either purchase the meters from the discos that has already been provided by the maps, or the discos can, under a special arrangement, some of these maps already have financing, where they can provide the meters to the consumers, and it will be paid back over a period of time. Initially, the structure is that the disco provides the meter and at no cost to the consumer. It is assumed that that cost has already been factored into the tariff structure. But we have a case now where there's a shortfall. The discos cannot meet that. So the discos now have the option of going to the map providers and getting these meters, and that will go a long way to solving the meter issue that we've been discussing.
All right, Jide, would you say that the electricity tariffs in Nigeria generally are fair to consumers, given the epileptic nature of power supply in Nigeria?
Well, it depends on what you are comparing that with. If you compare with buying diesel, buying petrol to service your gen, I would say yes. Yes, yes, capital yes, because I do that a lot. At least for my country. I mean, when we don't even have the electricity, what do? To power your gen, you have to buy fuel. And we know the benchmark, 145 naira per liter of fuel. But you can see how much the kilowatts of electricity cost is far below. Although I don't know the equation between kilowatts and meter. Yeah. But be that as it may, one thing we must understand is electricity is a social service. And you cannot take it as a business concern, in which case you have to charge cost reflective. I mean, if there is one sector I feel government needs to subsidize, it's actually electricity. Why I said that is it's pivotal to industrial revolution, to every other thing you want to do. Look at the number of deaths we have had arising from people mismanaging the use of their power generators. Because during the rainy season, people don't know that the fumes kills. So they bring it inside their homes. A whole family, many families have been wiped out overnight. They were not sick as at the time they went to sleep, but sniffing those fumes from carbon monoxide, many of them have died. Many people have contracted terminal sickness and disease. And even the noise pollution that you have, go to Wuse Market, go to any of these shopping malls, you have to shout to even talk to to whoever you want to buy something. So we can do away with a lot of noise pollution, a lot of preventable deaths, if we make electricity constant and affordable. Affordability is the issue here. Because, like I said, it's a social service. I'm not saying the service provider should not charge cost-reflective charges. I mean, far from it. My position is, let there be value for money. If you are charging, and that's why I'm hinging my argument, not on the fact that they have a right. I know it's an act, Electric Power Sector Reform Act. makes it mandatory for NEC to review, adjust. You know, they said minor adjustment or minor review. That is why they call it multi-year tariff order. Now, if you say the law permits you to do this, I wonder, and I've raised this proposal, that you are charging costs that should have been adjusted since 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, in 2020. Because that act says there should be minor adjustment every 6 months.
Yes.
So twice a year. Now, I don't know, for whatever reason, maybe it's fear of the public backlash and all of that, they've refused to do that for upward of almost 4 years now. Now, charging a 78% increase, as the case is with some disco, is way out of the reach of ordinary Nigerians. And I'm being mindful of who I'm defending here. It's not the bourgeois. It's not people in government who can afford it. I'm saying that this coming on the heels of VAT that has just been adjusted from 5% to 7.5% way back in December. Barely 4 weeks after, you are now faced with 78% increase in tariff. For God's sake, even labor is kicking. Yeah. Labor union, the 30,000 naira minimum wage they are supposed to enjoy is they like giving them with the right hand and taking it back with the left. Right. But I'm not even the labor union can even defend themselves. I don't work for labor. Yeah. Majority of Nigerians don't work for the union.
Let's get your response.
You know, Jide, I'm sensitive to your concerns about the impact on the common man, but. Electricity, as much as the social service, has to be costed such that the return the cost of it is actually costed properly, and that whoever that is providing that service gets what they deserve or require from that cost. Now, we can talk about how do we modify or adjust the service delivery to different clusters or cadres of people, maybe the lower cadre of people. What kind of power structure or power service can we make available to them? But if we are talking about large-scale power that is going to be delivered to the populace, it has to be costed such that whoever that is investing, since we privatize, government is no longer in the business of investing in providing power. If an investor is going to go into and provide this power, then that person has to be sure that
they're going to get returns.
They'll get returns on that power that is being supplied. So my case is this. For example, there's a case in Imo State.
Briefly, please, sir.
Imo State has recently set up what they call Imo State Power and Rural Electrification Agency, and that agency is being run by my former colleague, Dr. Albert Okorogo. Their plan is to set up clusters of different clusters using the natural resources that are available in the state, be it CNG, LNG, to provide power to industrial clusters. By the time you provide power to special clusters of people that need it, what it does is provides, it enhances economic activities, economic production. The earning power of those people that you're worried about that can't afford power can now be enhanced, and they can use that additional income to provide for their families and also pay for the power that they consume.
A positive ripple effect. All right, Engineer Chinedu Onyegbula, former Special Assistant to the Minister of Power. Thanks very much for giving us your insights on this topic.
Thank you.
And thanks also to Jide Ojo, our Public Affairs Analyst. Thanks again for your expertise and thoughts on our topic. And we also thank you, our viewer, for being part of the program. And remember, Nigeria Today comes your way every weekday at 7:30 p.m. You can also catch this additional others on our YouTube address, youtube.com/MKNews24Hub. I'm Dennis. Many thanks for watching.